Today we are speaking with Thrall, owner of Untamed Strength Gym, strongman, and OG YouTuber. We talk about his experiences with bodybuilding, his inspiration, entrepreneurial spirit, along with changing his identity and goals over the years. So I want to kick things off by getting you to remember your time as a Marine, standing on the post for 12 hours a night with Josh Clark and starting off with Jim Wendler's 531 from tnation.com. Tell me about a highlight and a low light during that time period from either a lifting or an entrepreneurship perspective.
Man, you've done some research. That's pretty awesome. I remember that night, and I remember that the post that I was standing with Josh Clark. I mean, nothing really stands out to me as memorable other than that particular incident. But I would say going into the gym and the first time that I actually had trained with him, to actually see his approach to lifting and to his workouts. He actually would tell me and write down in a notebook, okay, these are my sets and reps today. These are the percentages I'm using. And these are the weights that I'm going to be using. And I'm in my top set, I'm going to do as many as I can. And I've done this previously. So my goal is this. And I remember looking at that and saying, wow, he's taking like a real programming approach to this, which I didn't really understand at the time. He's got his stuff written out before he even does it. You know, I thought you just go to the gym and do some sets and reps and then don't even make note of it, but it just is what it is. But he's like got his warm-ups written out, his working sets written out. And so that was my first exposure to real programming. It's not to say that in high school I just did whatever I wanted. I had a football coach who would take us through a program, but I was just doing the program, not understanding it, not questioning it. So it actually, the first time I went to the gym with him, I saw that he had a notebook and he was writing these things down. That blew my mind, and I was hooked to that. It was no different than maybe the first time someone sees a diet plan who really wants to get their diet in check, and they're like, "Oh, so they sent me this diet plan. It says exactly what to eat at what times. This is great. This is perfect." I never understood that from a programming perspective. So to actually see that from a coaching view was something I've never seen before, and that definitely stuck with me. So yeah.
And how about maybe a low light from that time or the first few years when you opened up the gym?
So when I opened up the gym, so that being what, like my lowest point opening the gym or what?
Just something that sticks out, either a low light from actually lifting or,
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I would say that when I first opened the gym, some memories that stick out, I guess, from just being really stuck. I think the first one was from a marketing standpoint. I was trying to exhaust all forms of marketing. It was 2013. I did have a Facebook, but Instagram wasn't popular. And I didn't even have an Instagram, and I didn't really know about paid marketing or anything like that. And so I went around town and I tried talking to people that I knew. I would get flyers and I'd post them up around town, like in parks. I would just make my own flyers, print them out on the computer, and post
Wow.
them up on telephone poles. I made posters, and I would put these posters up around town. Um, and I actually bought some postcards. So I put some money into large postcards, and probably over 1,000 of them, maybe 1,500 of them. And my brothers and I, uh, they hopped in the back of my truck. We drove all around town, and we put them in a bag with 2 rocks, like gravel, and we throw it so that we could throw it onto the front porch
Yeah.
of all these houses. And I thought, this is going to bring me a lot of traction. This is going to bring me a lot of members. And so we threw these postcards out all over town. And I waited, and I said, I can't wait till someone calls. It was my website was on there, but it was also a phone number to call. And there were only 2 people who called from all those postcards, and both of them were pissed off that I left trash on their front yard.
Oh,
That
man.
was the only reason I got a phone call. And so that was one of my low points when I thought this was it. This was supposed to be my last form of marketing to kind of tell everyone, excuse me, about this this new gym. And so I was kind of stuck after that. Like, what do I do now? Do I just sit here and wait for people to show up? I don't really know what else to do. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, while I was at the gym doing something busy, she actually took some flyers and put them on the windshield of a bunch of cars in a gym parking lot, in a local gym parking lot, which is bad business practice. I wouldn't do that nowadays. But I told her, "Hey, go to this gym and put some flyers out on the cards." And she, a manager, an employee came out and got mad at her, told her to take them all, and she said, "I'll just stop." So she walked away. And this guy's trying to like rip all of them out of the cars and give them back to her. So, anyways, all these forms of marketing were not working, and I kind of relied on that to say this is going to bring me some membership, and it didn't. So that was definitely a low point that I had to sit and ask myself, what am I going to do now? So that would be a marketing thing that stood out to me.
Okay. And I think people may not realize your entrepreneurial spirit. Marketing is kind of one piece, but I know you wanted to kind of scale your training efforts, and that's why you started YouTube, right? You could only train a few people in the gym, but you can train lots of people on YouTube. And I think people may not know that you also sold tires on Craigslist.
Yeah. Yep. So I would collect these tires. It started when all the tires that I have here still at Untamed Strength, I've never paid $1 for it. They're usually, if you can find unserviceable tractor tires, so they have no more use for them, whether the tread's too worn out or they have a gouge or some sort of hole in it, and it's going to take a lot of money to repair. Tire companies that don't repair tires, they just collect these tires, just sit around. And in order to get rid of them, they can't just throw them in the trash can. They have to pay a service to come pick it up and recycle it. So they have to pay a recycling fee. So if you can get a hold of one, you say, "Can I take this for free?" Almost always they'll say, "Yes, please." Some of them that are a little more responsible will say no, because oftentimes the serial number can be linked to them. If you were to
Mm.
throw it on the side of the freeway and someone was to track it, they can figure out. But most of the time they'll say yes. And I went to this one place that was giving away free tires. This guy was going out of business or retiring or something like that. And he actually had a retreading machine. So he would collect these tires and he'd retread them. He had hundreds of tires that he was way in over his head. He had more tires than you know what to do with. And so he was like, "Take as many as you want." And so I would take them, and I was just making trips back and forth. And I thought, I'll just take tires and put them in the back of my truck and put them on Craigslist for, whatever, $20 or $40, usually just kind of making the gas money back. So yeah, I would sell those tractor tires. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's really important for people to understand how hard it is to be an entrepreneur and to start a business because, in the world of social media, it's completely glorified, but there's a lot of hard work, tough times, luck, and grit required.
Yeah.
So, what I want to do now is I want to throw some images on the screen of some people, and I want you to give me your, first reaction of the person, and then also what workout you would do with them in person if you guys met up.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. uh Inspirational. I would say he is without a doubt the reason that I opened a gym. When I saw his YouTube channel, Strength Camp, and I saw him giving his gym tour, the initial facility, and I saw that he got to coach people on his own terms, not as a personal trainer inside of a corporate gym, I said, I want to do that. Flat out. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I wanted to do what Elliot Hulse was doing. And if we were to meet up today, I would like to do some tire flips and Atlas stone loads with him.
Awesome. Moving on here.
I would say an even bigger inspiration. Rocky is the reason that I started exercising, not necessarily lifting weights, but my oldest brother was a boxer. And so he had all the Rocky VHS tapes and we would watch those tapes. My favorite is Rocky 3, but we would watch those VHS tapes over and over and over again. And the training montage just was so inspirational to me when I was a young man. And I would go run around town. We had a hill behind my house. I would run up and down that hill. And
Would you raise your arms up in the air like you're Rocky? maybe sometime?
I probably did at the top of the hill. Yeah, yeah. But I just loved pushing myself, just like Rocky did in the movies. And it was never to necessarily build muscle or to get ripped or anything like that. I just loved exercise and I loved the way made me feel. And so
Yeah.
that movie, without a doubt, inspired me to start working out or exercising.
Yeah, I think what's awesome about Rocky is it's like a true underdog story, right?
Yes.
Like, especially at that time period, you had a lot of like the Giants, the Arnolds, like they were kind of dominating movies. And then you had this underdog movie, and I think it just hit home with a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. It stood out more to me than Conan the Barbarian or any of Arnold's movies. They're all great, but just the story behind Rocky was really inspirational to me. So if we met and we did a workout together, we'd have to do some sort of barn workout like Rocky Four. I'd probably do some jump roping with him, and then probably some lunges through the snow with something on my back.
Awesome. Let's move on.
It's natural hypertrophy. So he last year wrote me a bodybuilding program. I made a comment in one of my videos that I've been trying to take a little more bodybuilding approach, just using some bodybuilding programming approaches and principles. And I had mentioned that I've been watching some of his videos, and this is what's motivated me. And so he reached out to me and said, "Hey, if you ever want me to create a program, let me know." So I reached out to him, and he had commented on a video. Then I had reached out to him through Instagram. I said, "Hey, I'm going to take you up on your offer. How much do you charge for a program?" And he said, "I don't charge for my programs, but I require one thing." Actually, he said two things. One, you let me do it live on YouTube. I said, "Okay." And then he said, "You actually give it 1 year to actually devote to this." And I said, "Deal, sounds good." So he wrote me a bodybuilding program, and I am tentatively. It's almost been 1 year. It'll be 1 year in March, maybe April when I started. I have to look back, but tentatively right now, I might be doing another strongman competition at the end of March. So my training I've incorporated a little bit more strongman recently just to get
Okay.
back into it. But the principles and a lot of the program structure still applies, and I still follow it. So if we were to meet together, it would never happen in a million years because he likes his anonymity, and he
Very
doesn't even
clearly.
share. Yeah, doesn't share his name or location or anything like that. So we would never train together. But if we did, um, I'm sure we'd do some bicep curls probably. Um, who knows? Maybe he'd want to do legs. I know he's got big legs and he likes to train legs. So maybe we do some squats too. Squats, Romanian deadlifts, and then he could show me some bicep curl secrets.
Awesome. Sweet. All right.
Oh, Sven. So I'm sorry, this is Magnus Samuelson.
Yeah.
So Magnus Samuelson, there are a couple of documentaries that I saw that really, really lit a fire under me for um, strongman. One of them was Viking Power, which is Sven Carlson. Uh, and this was Swedish Power, Magnus Samuelsson.
Okay.
I think that seeing them train, I think he was kind of at a time where just being a big, strong, physical man got you really far in the sport of strongman. Whereas now they are all athletes that train for this specifically year round. And so the level of strength and physical ability has just rises every single year. And so they're lifting weights nowadays that are far exceed what they did back in the time or back in the beginning of World's Strongest Man or even the early 2000s. So with that to say, he was just a big, strong, physical dude. He was a bodybuilder before this. But I just like seeing these guys, these larger than life superheroes, compete at World's Strongest Man and kind of go into these events not knowing what the events were. So it was definitely like in my opinion, a golden era of strongman back in the early 2000s. But I would say one memory that pops into mind, his first World's Strongest Man, they did arm wrestling, and he was actually an arm wrestling champion. And they did arm wrestling, and he broke the competitor's arm. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen that. No.
But yeah,
I'm sure I'll watch the clip later today.
he broke his arm. So anyways, if we met together, I'm sure we would do, I would say, because he's the king of grip, we would probably do some farmers walks.
Okay. Awesome. All right, we got two more here.
Hill sprints. This is what motivated me to do hill sprints, along with Rocky. I think it was fifth grade that I had a school project where I had to write about a biography or write about some story about a historical character. And I was into football. I played Pop Warner football, um, and so I picked Walter Payton. I'm not exactly sure why. I think I just stumbled upon the book, his autobiography, possibly. But reading this book, he would run hill sprints. He said he would run hill sprints, and that was really all he did. Hill sprints with steel-toed boots. And there's actually old videos on YouTube you can find of him running hill sprints. And that, again, motivated me to run and to do hill sprints. And I would say that the way I measured my physical ability, my physical capability at a young age was how fast I could run. And I never timed anything, but
Hmm.
just how fast I could run, how far I could run. And I think that built a good base for me, even a good base for leg strength. So some people will ask, do you wish that you had started squatting earlier? Not necessarily. I think I had a good base of leg training by doing hill sprints.
You
So,
think the hill sprints helped you with football as well?
oh, absolutely, yeah. In fact, I won't go too far into it, but the first day that I went to football practice, we did a warm up. So all these guys who had played have played together before me years prior, but I was a new guy. And so the year that I started on day one of practice, the coach said, "All right, we're doing a warm up lap. So you guys run around the fields." It was a big, huge practice field, probably a half a mile. You guys run around do a warm up. Everyone runs together in a warm up, and it's a warm up. So it's just slow.
Hmm.
I didn't know this. He said, "All right, go." I took off sprinting as fast as I can. I run this huge lap as fast as I can. I'm way ahead of everyone because everyone's running together slowly, and I'm sprinting my ass off because I think it's a test. And when I got back, the coach just kind of informed me. First, he was impressed. He said, "Wow, you're really fast." And then he kind of explained, "Hey, warm up run. It's not a test. Warm up with your teammates." And so, anyways, I was before I even started football, I was pretty good at running. So, and I attribute that to the school project I had with Walter Payton.
That's
If we
awesome.
got together, of course, we would do hill sprints.
Awesome. All right. So you mentioned, natural hypertrophy helping you with the workout program and yourself implementing it. I'm curious, now that you've been doing it for almost a year, what is your Mount Rushmore, your top four upper body exercises for bodybuilding?
Oh man, so I think that is. Are we going off of just strictly my opinion, what I enjoy most?
It's your opinion and what you
So
enjoy most. Yes.
okay, so I have really enjoyed pull ups and variations of pull ups, wide grip, chin ups, neutral grip, different rep ranges, weighted, um, not weighted, just body weight, higher reps. So I would say pull ups are up there.
Are you still using a dog leash?
No, I've been doing a lot more in my gym, not so much in the garage. But the dog leash works perfect. Yeah, I've used a dog leash. I've used an extension cord. So
Do you have
whatever
a
you can wrap around your waist.
Do you have a favorite pull-up variation?
I would say that I probably a neutral grip, parallel handles with probably shoulder width, maybe a little narrower, simply because I feel like it's most comfortable on my shoulders and I can push that the farthest. However, recently I've been doing a lot more wide pull ups with a very vertical torso because I struggle with those most, but I feel like I need to work on that. I need to focus, not just do the pull up variation that I'm good at all the time.
Yeah, I'm similar. I can
So,
do a lot more weight with chin ups or neutral grip, and then
yes.
when I have to do pull-ups, it humbles me a little bit.
Yeah. So wider grip pull-ups I've been doing more recently. Aside from pull-ups, I have really enjoyed dips, and I won't lump it together with push-ups, but just body weight pressing movements I've really been enjoying. So dips or push-ups. And dips can be weighted, push-ups can be weighted. I actually have not been benching for I stopped benching probably a few months ago, and I've just been doing dips and push-up variations simply because I don't even like to bench press that much. I just always do it because I'm just kind of wired that way. But it was just giving me some issues with my pec tendon or my shoulder. And so every time I would visit the bench press, would just come up with these issues. And so I'm like, I don't have to do this. I'm not a power lifter competing, so I don't have to do this. So I've really enjoyed doing dips more recently. So pull-ups, dips, as long with weighted push-ups. And then overhead press is still up there. I'm never gonna get tired of overhead press. I really like doing overhead press. The fourth one, oh, you said upper body, right? So
Upper
the
body.
4 bodybuilding moves for upper. The fourth
Yeah.
one I'd say was dumbbell pullovers. Dumbbell pullovers seem to be my favorite. So
I love
lying on a
those.
bench, reaching back. I think that it's great for shoulder mobility as well. Good stretch on your shoulders. But I really enjoy the stretch on the lats and the work on my lats. It's very similar, feels very similar to a high rep set of pull-ups. Um, but it can be supersetted with any upper body exercise, I feel like, other than maybe pull-ups, but any sort of pressing exercise, I can superset the dumbbell pullovers. So I've enjoyed those pull-ups, strict or just any overhead press,
Hmm.
dips, and dumbbell pullovers. I've done dumbbell pullovers. I've done pullovers with a barbell, with an easy bar, and machine pullovers. I don't know what it is, but I just like the dumbbell pullover most.
Okay. And you just mentioned machines. I know you had a video that talked about machines versus free weights, and it's something you changed your mind about. I'm curious if there's anything else that you can think of that you've changed your mind about over the last few years.
I don't know if there's been any hard shifts in the way I think. I think that I just have more tools in my toolbox now. And I would say that the biggest difference is the way that I think about exercise. I used to say that strength is the most important thing, more important than anything else. And then I would have this clear definition of what strength was. I would say, your ability to produce force against an external resistance. And then I would clearly define what that external resistance was. It's a barbell. And then I would clearly define what movements that is. It's a squat, it's a bench, it's a deadlift. These are the most important things. And I was really stuck in that mindset. But now, over the years, I've just realized that that is uh, the way you define strength can vary from person to person. Um, and so I think I've eased up or softened up on uh, my kind of approach to that. And I think that exercise for strength, for hypertrophy, for cardiovascular health, or just health in general, can be expressed in many different ways depending on the person. And so I guess I'm a little softer with that approach, and I have a little more broad thinking than where I used to be very, very focused on, maybe a couple of things. So I would say that that would be my biggest shift. Um, I've said some things that I don't necessarily agree with anymore, but I think that's anyone.
It's
But it's not
impossible to
like
get around that, right? Like you're
right,
not going to agree with everything to an exact T forever.
right. And I don't think that I've taken any hard, I would say a hard shift in mindset would be, I just don't think that lifting weights and resistance training is beneficial. I don't think you should do it anymore. That would be like a hard stance. But it's simply been, yeah, I think strongman is best for these reasons. Maybe just basic barbell training is best. Maybe Olympic weightlifting is best for this and that. So it's all still under the umbrella of weight training and resistance training. It's just different opinions, I guess, depending on the time.
Do you think your approach to nutrition has changed over time?
Yes. Um, in the sense of I don't think that it's responsible to go on these massive bulk and cut phases. I think you can get away with it when you're a teenager, maybe early 20s, but just from experience, it's surely not a smart thing to do if you're in your 30s and 40s and beyond. And there was a time when I did recommend everyone bulk up. Most important thing is strength. Just get your body weight up so that your strength goes up. And I would tell I don't care if you're 55 years old, I would tell you to bulk up, just irresponsible. So that would be my biggest change in nutrition. But I've never been one to follow along any sort of specific diet. So I would say that's remained the same. I think a well-rounded, balanced diet would be best. I've never been to say that vegetarian and vegan is better than being an omnivore. I've never said you should be a carnivore or keto or high carb. I've never really demonized any macronutrient,
Hmm.
and I still don't. And I don't necessarily demonize certain food groups either. So that's all kind of remained the same. But it's just been my approach to eating as it relates to building strength. I'm just not as it's just not as excessive as it used to be in terms of bulking myself and others. So
That's great. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to put some images on the screen of some books that you've mentioned, and maybe you can tell me one takeaway for the audience from the book.
I'll do my best here. Oh man. So I'll try to keep this brief. I don't want to talk too much about each and every book, but this book inspired me to start running long distance. Whereas before I might run hills and run around town, this really sparked me to run long distance. And I would say that the biggest takeaway from this, the biggest thing I gained was that running can and should be enjoyable. And this book kind of put that into that light, that he really had fun with this, and he would take long runs as an opportunity for adventure. So I would say that was my biggest takeaway from that book.
And you enjoy the cardio sessions that you do now?
Yeah, yeah. Still running. I don't run as it's not as strict on programming as it was a couple years ago when I was doing races, but yeah, I would say that still applies to my cardio training now. And yeah, it doesn't have to be running. It could be cycling. It could be, CrossFit style, more high intensity stuff, rower, whatever it is. But yeah, just treat it as an adventure, have some fun, try to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I play tennis twice a week and the time flies by and it's great exercise and I get to, hang out with my friends too. So it ends up being just a good form of cardio that fits in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I think it's become very polarizing nowadays, uh, because there's just been so much research and so much experience and so much social media coverage and content about strength training that it is difficult to take a hard stance on something because it's going to be criticized from other people. So it has gained some bad light. But with that said, I think this book has inspired more people. This book and this program have inspired more people to start lifting weights than any other book, any other program. So I give credit where credit is due. But as far as the one takeaway from this book, I think this book is like having your own personal trainer. If you were to read
Wow.
that, um, it is. I wouldn't say that everything needs to be taken at face value. Um, there is some nuance to all of it, but I think that buying that book, reading that book, like I said, it is like a personal trainer. It's where I learned a lot of, how to do the barbell lifts. I just went on Amazon, I think when they were selling books, when it was just books on Amazon, and I purchased that book, read it, and thought, wow, I've never heard anything like this. I've never been taught anything like this. So it is very, very helpful. But again, with that said, um, not everything has to be taken at face value. And I think it's difficult when you try to teach a model or a specific program, to add a bunch of nuance. The book would be 3 times as long. So it's just kind of do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that sort of thing, which can be conflicting at times. But
Cool. I wonder if you should have bought the book off Amazon or a stock of Amazon at that time if they were both
I know,
selling
right?
books. But I'm sure this is, super valuable to you as well. Especially, it seems like you came across it at the right time. And I feel like
Yeah.
with books, it's about finding the right book at the right time for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't this book that I got first. It was the previous edition, the yellow book. And there's not a whole lot of difference. I think it's just better images. Maybe they added some accessory movements at the end, I think.
Cool.
This really did instill in me the the mindset side of lifting. And it was really empowering. I don't know that I think this would just get glanced over nowadays because there's just so many motivational videos, motivational Instagram posts, motivational accounts, motivational reels that we have really become desensitized to certain things that motivate us or that inspire us. And so back then, when I didn't have anything like that, there was no social media or highlight reels, motivational videos on YouTube that I could find. I bought this book, and I don't remember who recommended it to me or where I got the idea,
Hmm.
but I bought it, uh, read through it, and just it was extremely motivating. Every chapter in there. So honestly, I don't know if it has its power now. If I was to recommend someone to get this, they might say, "Yeah, this is sort of the cheesy. It's just sensational, really." But it stuck with me. Also, I think I read it when I was 19 or 20 years old, so I was a young, impressionable man. So maybe that had something to do with it, also.
For sure.
This was the same idea. I think so. When I had read these books when I was in the Marine Corps, and um, I joined the Marine Corps because I was lost. I was going to community college, didn't really find any passion in anything I was doing, didn't care about the classes, didn't know what I wanted my degree to be in or my major, just unsure of what to do. Going to my job, just going through the motions, and I just kept asking myself, "What am I going to do
Hmm.
with my life? What am I going to do with my career?" I just kind of felt lost, not in a depressing way, but I just didn't know what to do. And so I said, I'm going to join the Marine Corps for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons was I want to be told what to do. The Marine Corps is easy in the sense that you pack your bags. Actually, you don't take anything, but you just go to boot camp. They tell you what to do, you just do it. And so that appealed to me. And so after being told what to do for a while, after a couple years into the Marine Corps, I realized I'm done being told what to do. I know what I want to do now. And it was from reading books like this. I kind of just asked myself deep inside of myself, like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here? Why did I join the Marine Corps? What do I want to do afterwards? And books like this really got me to ask that question and think for myself. Um, so so I was definitely, alongside any other inspirational books that I had, is one of the best.
I came across this book at around the same age as you. And what it taught me was you control how you react to things, and
Mhm.
you control your thoughts. And that was really important, right? So if something bad happens to you, it's kind of your perspective on that. And you can use that as motivation. You can use it in a positive way, or you can use it in a negative way. So I found this book at a similar age and found it to be pretty powerful as well.
Yeah, well said. That's true.
All right. So I want to jump back into training.
Mhm.
And, I think we talked about this at the beginning, the need for a training log. And I think this is something that pretty much all intermediate and advanced lifters do at this point. But I think one thing that you mentioned, which I found really interesting, is that you treat your training log like a journal and you record your thoughts. Can you talk about why you do that and how it keeps you engaged in your session?
Yeah. It's not even so recording my thoughts would be maybe going into the session, I kind of write down how I feel that day. And so it just gets me to be in the moment, gets me to reflect on my thoughts. The same way that if maybe someone was suffering from anxiety because they're overwhelmed or they're worried about something, just talking to someone or just putting it down on paper might help them sort those thoughts out. And so there are times when I'll write some things down, just jot before the session, and I'll do the workout as it's written. Um, and in between sets, I'll make some notes about how that set felt, or if I'm going to jump up in weight, why, if I'm going to stay there or lighten the weight, why. Not always, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I am. I write down more than other days, but it helps me stay engaged in the workout because I am putting my thoughts down. I don't like to flip back and forth. I don't really like, if I'm here at the gym, I don't really like doing a workout and then running over and taking care of some chores, doing my set and then running over and taking care of this and talking to this new member or getting someone set up with a membership or something like that. I don't really like the back and forth because I feel like now my workout is just in the way. It's an inconvenience.
Mm.
And I don't really like zoning out and just scrolling on Instagram. I like to be engaged in what I'm doing. And so writing things down is just a way to stay engaged. It's not that they're extremely helpful notes, or if you were to come across it, like it's this gold mine of information. It's just scribbles and notes. But I really enjoy it. And I am the type of person who likes to put my thoughts down on paper. I don't write a diary or journal in any way, but even a grocery list. I don't like plugging stuff in my phone. I have a bunch of notes in my phone, but I don't like typing on my phone. So I have my wife actually for Christmas got me a new notepad, put it in my stocking because I write on stuff all over. Like it might be old mail and I'm like writing stuff down. So whether it's a to-do list or grocery shopping, like I mentioned, I might write down a menu for dinners for the next 4 or 5 nights so that I know what I'm going to get when I go to the store. Write down some things that I need. So I'm always writing my notes down. I just enjoy the pen to paper feeling, I guess. And so that's one thing that I enjoy doing in between sets as I'm exercising and working out. Um, and yeah, I think again, it just helps me be a little more engaged and focused with what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think what I like about that is there's a qualitative aspect to it. So if I go through my, training logs for the last 8 years, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of numbers, but there's nothing that tells me how I was feeling or why I made some of those micro decisions in the moment.
Yes.
And looking back at them, I don't know how useful it would be, but it would be fun to look at the very least, and maybe kind of like nostalgic to go back and be like, what was I thinking the day I missed the PR? Like
Yeah.
that would be interesting to look back at.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I don't look back on those logs and take a look at the notes, but there are times when um, maybe for I'm just totally making this up, but maybe for a couple of weeks I don't do any squatting, and I have to make sure I note, hey, no squatting for the last 2 weeks because my knee hurts. So that if I look back on that, I'm like, why did I stop squatting for a couple
Mhm.
of weeks? Just things like that I can look back on. Um, so yeah, and it's certainly helpful, and I can kind of look and see why did I change my routine. Maybe I put some notes down, and it actually is fun sometimes to look back on old training logs and see. I'll write down, training with my brothers, and think, oh, I remember that session. Not if it was just sets and reps, but simply because I put training with my brothers, or if it's on a significant day like uh, a New Year's Eve lifting session, or whatever, someone's birthday, and we worked out together. So I like putting that stuff down just to look back on it.
Yeah, so I have like notebooks of, I guess, sales calls I did at my last startup, and I was looking through them, and I was able to like remember some of the important moments on the journey, and it was kind of cool,
Yeah,
kind of in the
yeah,
same light.
absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. So one thing that you've done is you've been able to change your identity and your goals over the year. Earlier on, it was just strength. You mentioned lifting heavy weights on a barbell. I'm curious how you've changed your goals since becoming a dad, but also what advice can you give to people who have trouble changing their goals because it might be in conflict with the community or tribe that they're a part of?
Yeah, tribalism is huge with the fitness community, and I think that I don't know, I wouldn't really deter anyone from being a part of a tribe or having an identity because a lot of times that gets people stuck. Sometimes they go to the gym and they float around and they don't feel like they have any purpose or they don't feel like they have a community. And so they end up just not going. The gym's never something they enjoy. But then they find powerlifting and they say, wow, this is awesome. I want to go compete. I want to meet other powerlifters. I want to go to a powerlifting gym. And so I wouldn't deter anyone from going all in and focusing on that. The only thing that I would warn against is being stuck into that identity because there is going to be a time, maybe not always, but there for most people there seems to be a time when they're burnt out.
Mhm.
Maybe they don't like powerlifting as much as they used to. It doesn't excite them. It's now a chore. It's boring, and they don't see an out, and so they think I'm just going to quit powerlifting, and they just quit lifting altogether. When hey, you can make a slight shift. You can do some bodybuilding, but I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm a power lifter. It's just silly titles at that point, meaningless titles. You can still lift weights. I don't know how many countless interactions with people because I'm a gym owner, talking to people, maybe an old guy who's like, yeah, I can't power lift anymore. Don't really lift weights because I just, I got hip problems. Can't squat to depth. And I'm like, okay, you can't squat to depth. There's a million other things you can do, but you choose to not even work out or not even exercise your lower body because they're just so stuck. I'm a power lifter. I bench squat deadlift. And when I can't bench squat deadlift, that's it. I'm not going to maintain anything. I'm not going to pursue anything. And so I think that that's the trap that a lot of people fall into, is being a part of this tribe or identifying so strongly with one thing that they can't make the shift. And I have, thankfully, I always enjoy what I'm doing, because at the time when I just get burnt out on it or when it doesn't really excite me, I won't do it. And I'll just make a slight shift. And from an outside looking in, meaning maybe from a YouTube subscriber watching some YouTube channels, someone made this comment recently. I think he was trying to kind of take a jab, but he said, "Man, this dude jumps on a new thing every year, and he's right. It might have been barbell lifts, strength, starting strength, barbell lifts, squat, bench, deadlift.
Hmm.
I'm all in with powerlifting, all in with strongman. Now I'm doing Olympic weightlifting. Now I'm all in with running. Now I'm all in with, flexible exercising, flexible lifestyle, just fit it in whenever you can. Now I'm doing bodybuilding. The thing is, I still do all of that. So it's just a progression of me learning about this stuff and starting to incorporate into my routine. But I still do Olympic lifts. I still do the power lifts. I still do strongman. I still run, and I still incorporate bodybuilding. So it's all just, all falls under the umbrella of strength training still. So it's not that I'm bouncing all over the place. I just don't care about having one identity. I just kind of do whatever I'd like to do, while still staying consistent with strength training and resistance training and exercise.
Would you say that what you do is try to follow your curiosity, or how would you explain it?
I think so. Uh, I will say that if I am prepping for a competition, so if I've made the decision that I'm going to do this strongman competition, I try not to get distracted, and I will put my head down and do all the work that I need to do to compete in this competition. And there, I might be really kind of dragging my knuckles by the end of it, by the end of the prep, like, hey, I'm ready to switch things up, but I'm not going to, because I committed to this competition.
Of course.
So in that sense, I will stick with what I had set out to do. I'm not just a butterfly in the wind, kind of just doing whatever I want day to day. But with that said, after I do a strongman competition, I think I'm just tired of training strongman movements. So specifically, I'd like to try a little bit more bodybuilding because it sounds good. And so I'll lean into that. And I won't say, I'm not going to do bodybuilding because people will tease me or because people, whatever, for whatever reason. I don't care at all. And I think maybe that's just because I'm a little bit older, a little more experienced. I think that when we are, you know, young 20s, early 20s, people do really attach to that identity and the tribal aspect of the fitness community because they're just trying to figure it out for themselves. And that's fine. Like I said, go all in, identify, do whatever you want. But just realize that when you can feel inside of you that things need to change, don't fight that. Just adjust, adjust a little bit. So try something else.
Yeah, I think those are wise words, and I think your age is starting to show.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. So I want to finish today off with kind of a fun question here. So you have lots of videos and pictures of yourself grilling, from low and slow pulled pork to an epic looking French toast burger. If you had Miguel from Cooking with Fire make you any meal of your choice, what would you want?
I would say burrito tacos, uh, because I've never made them. And if I do go splurge somewhere, or if I was to meet one of these guys on Instagram, and they were going to cook me something special, I would want them to do something that I've never done or something that I can't do or can't do well. I don't want them just to make me, like something that I can make myself. So yeah, probably burrito tacos, which is kind of the taco. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Usually
I'm
like
not.
So it's a taco that's usually shredded meat, usually beef. I've seen it made with goat, lamb,
Wow.
but usually it's like shredded beef. The taco is then seared in the beef fat. So it's just a big, greasy, crunchy
Sounds good.
taco.
Sounds great.
And then it's kind of like dipped in this grease fat au jus kind of thing. But I've never even had good burrito tacos. So I would like him to make me one because I see him do it and they look awesome. But definitely something that I would, you don't want to eat too often. So
It's a cheat day. It's fine. It's one
yeah,
day.
right.
Awesome. Well, Alan, thank you so much for your time today. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's at Untamed Strength, Untamed Strength, or Alan Thrall on YouTube. And if you're happen to be in the area in Northern California and you wanted to check out the gym, the website is trainuntamed.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Of course.